Hey, so like most of you guessed already, based on the title and based on me holding the number 3 up, we are going to be talking about 3 different questions that home buyers or first-time home buyers should be asking themselves before purchasing a house. Now, I say that first-time home buyers, but this list can honestly apply to anybody who's looking to buy a house. Before I get into it, I'm going to tell you a little bit about a program which I believe is extremely beneficial for home buyers, especially those that fall into the category of what we call heroes. So at Heroes Real Estate Group, we have a program called the Heroes Rebate Program, which actually applies to veterans, military, active and reserve, law enforcement, firefighters, doctors, nurses, educators, and caseworkers. And real quick, by educators, I mean teachers and professors at universities, somebody who teaches someone. And basically what we do is we take a certain percentage of the overall gross commission that comes to our office, and we actually give it as a gift on the closing document, on the closing statement. Basically at closing, we give it as a gift to the buyer for them to apply towards their closing costs. Now listen, it's no secret that buying a house is expensive. I'll get into it here in a little bit of how much money more or less is going to cost, but anything helps when buying a house, right? Or really when selling a house. Matter of fact, this program actually pertains to sellers as well. We give them a certain percentage as well, but we're going to talk about buyers because that's what this video is about. But any little bit helps. So if you have someone willing to give you a few $1,000s to help you buy a house, then you should probably look into it, right? So our phone number is 407-308-4518. Give me a call or shoot me a text if you have any questions about that program or really about this video. And my email is peter@flreagent.com. You can email me or text me or call me or whatever, and I'll be able to get back to you as soon as I possibly can, all right? So let's get into the actual topic of this video and kind of go from there. So it is safe to say that most of us, whenever we buy a house, that house is going to be the most expensive thing we own. It's going to be our most valuable asset. So it's normal for first-time home buyers especially, but really for any buyer, to be a little bit nervous and a little bit excited at the same time. So don't hold back on buying a house if you feel you're ready and if you meet the rest of the criteria just because you feel a little nervous. Listen, it's the next chapter in your life, it's the next page in the book, it's the next step in honestly your adult life, right? So don't be a little bit, if you're nervous, that's fine. Don't be scared by it. Don't be taken aback by it. Don't take a step back if you feel you're ready to move forward. Just, hey, listen, as long as you have someone like me that's in your corner, a real estate professional that does this, not just for a living, but that can empathize with you in your situation. Listen, we're here to support you. We're here to guide you through the process, not just emotionally, but also legally and on paper and everything like that. So, talk to us. That's what we're here for. So it's normal. Don't be, taken aback by it. Don't take a step back because you're nervous. We're here to move forward. We're here to help you buy a house. And that's what it's all about, the American dream, right? So first question, are you professionally ready to buy a house? Quite simply, do you have a job? Have you had that job for a respectable amount of time? And by that, I mean, let's just say a little bit over a year or maybe less than 2 years. Let's just say less than 2 years, but longer than 6 months, right? In that little window. Most lenders, they prefer to see, and this is for W-2 employees, they prefer to see, a good steady length of time for you to have a job. So let's just say 2 years or less is okay, but it has to be at least more than 6 months, because otherwise, what confidence do they have that you're gonna be able to perform on that payment, right? So you have to have a steady job. Obviously, your credit score is gonna go into it, your debt to income ratio is gonna go into it. Basically, how much money do you owe people, and how much money do you have left over at the end of the month to make this mortgage payment? And a whole bunch of other things are going to go into it, right? On top of the fact that you have to have cash reserves, obviously, because you have a down payment, you have escrow money, you also have home inspections, you have a whole bunch of other things you got to cover, and we'll get into that here next. But that's one thing for W-2 employees is you have to have a steady income and a good amount of time at that job, right? For self-employed business owners, entrepreneurs, 1099 contractors, real estate professionals like me, they like to see at least 2 solid years of solid, steady income in that industry before considering you for a mortgage, right? Now, like a real estate agent, you can switch companies in that same industry, and that should be fine for most lenders. Some lenders don't like it, but most lenders are okay with it as long as you're in the same industry. So as a real estate agent, I can go to from company A to company B as long as I'm in the same industry and the average pay that I'm making is about the same in both companies. Then it's fine, and they'll call that a continuation of income, and they'll be fine with that because you're in the same industry. So Keep that in mind. You can't just willy-nilly go get a job. Go get a house if you've had a job for a day. It just doesn't work out, right? So keep that in mind. Next, are you good financially? Are you in a good financial place to buy a house? In other words, do you have money, right? You can have a job and be broke, right? So do you have money? There's a myth out there going around, or it's been going around longer than I've been alive probably. I'm 32 years old, so probably quite a while. That you need 20% to go ahead and buy a house. But that's not true whatsoever. You don't need 20% to buy a house. If you're buying a $200,000 house, you don't need $40,000 in the bank just to put down on a house. That's not true. There's programs out there that allow you to put down something as little as 3%. There's a 3% conventional loan that with 3% down from the purchase price, you can get into a house. I have 2 lenders that do that. So if you have questions about that, give me a call, 407-308-4518. Shoot me a text, send me an email. Peter at flreagent.com. That's FL as in Florida, RE as in real estate agent.com. No S at the end. I'll put in the description that my email will be there as well. But if you have questions about that, give me a call. Listen, I'm not a mortgage expert. I know the ins and outs of the basics, but whenever it comes to the deep questions, in detail and things like that, I always refer to my mortgage partners because at the end of the day, they're the SMEs, the subject matter experts of that industry, and I'm just a real estate guy, right? I'm a professional at it, but I'm a real estate guy, not a mortgage guy. So if you have questions about that, I'll direct you to them. However, 3% is all you need, right? In terms of down payment, there's other costs associated with buying a house. So you have the lender's closing costs, and then you have the inspections and everything like that. So what do I mean by lender's closing costs? Some of you are thinking to yourself that, okay, well, if I only need 3%, that's all I need. I don't need any more money. 3% is for your down payments for the house, right? The lender's closing costs range anywhere between 2 and 4% of the purchase price. And that's just, origination fees, lender fees, blah, blah, blah. It's a whole bunch of fees that they charge you, right? So really just think of it like that. There's 2 to 4% in just fees. Then you have 3% for down payment. Then you have your escrow money, which actually is part of the 3%, if you will. It kind of gets deducted from there. Then you have your home inspections and everything else. So, I would say you definitely need a few $1,000s to buy a house, obviously. So if you don't feel like you're financially ready to take that financial haircut, then maybe it's not the right time to buy a house. But if you have a few $1,000s, if you're open to participating in a down payment assistance program for whichever county you live in, which the DPA or the down payment assistance program gives you up to a certain amount of money to go towards your house payment. Obviously, it is free money, but it's not. There's stipulations to it. It's free money as long as you abide by the terms of that agreement. If you don't abide by the terms of that agreement, then you have to pay it back. So, we'll get into that. If you have questions about that, I can get into more detail. Call me, text me, email me, and I'll be glad to even just reference the material, and I'll send you the link to where you can see it yourself on the county website, all right? So, but my point is, you need money to buy a house. So are you ready to buy a house? If you're ready, great, right? Don't let that be a deterrent because you see a big number that you're gonna have to pay out to buy a house. If you're ready, you're ready. Go for it. If you're not ready, don't get into it because the last thing you need, the last thing you want, right? Aside from having the job and having the fluidity, the cash on hand, is you don't need me to be calling your house in a year because you got into a house and now you're being foreclosed on because you completely outstretched yourself and now you can't afford it. Right, because I'll do that. I will call you if your house is in pre-foreclosure and ask you if you want to sell your house to try to get you out of there because I would rather you avoid the foreclosure and be able to buy a house again when you're ready in the next 6 months to a year rather than have to wait, let's just say 7 to 10 years to be able to get a mortgage because you get foreclosed on and nobody will approve you for a mortgage. So anyway, you got to make sure you're financially ready. Last question, actually, we're going to go into, are you emotionally prepared to buy a house, right? So listen, building wealth through equity and, having control of your personal space and things like that. I mean, that's all great and dandy, but the last thing you want is to have regrets after you buy the house, right? So buying a house and getting into, having your own space should be a moment of joy. It should bring you happiness. It should be a moment that you're proud of yourself. But if you have the, buyer's remorse because, something happened, you weren't quite informed about a certain process or you're not happy with the house or whatever, then honestly, what's the point? I won't push someone as a business professional, as a real estate professional. I will not push someone to buy a house outside of their comfort zone, outside of their financial ability or in an area or, that they don't like, right? So most people, will become, will have buyer's remorse because of those reasons, right? So there was a survey done, and about 81% of millennials, and I'm looking here at my notes down here, a recent survey was done. About 81% of buyers between the ages of 18 and 34 felt that they were rushed into the process without having enough information, right? And the majority of those individuals, the 81%, the reason they felt like they didn't have enough information was because they didn't know in reality how much house they could afford, because their real estate agent or their mortgage broker just didn't inform them of how much house they can and could not afford. They just kind of told them, you, based on your initial numbers, you can afford this house, right? And they didn't kind of look deeper into it. They picked a location that was not favorable to them in the end. They have a house or in a neighborhood or not that really doesn't have the amenities they're looking for. So for example, if you want to live in like a resort style community because you want the pool and the game room and the weight room and everything like that, the golfing, then maybe you should look into a community over there. Let's just say as an example, Champions Gate, Reunion, things like that, or even Margaritaville and Kissimmee. But you wouldn't look into like a neighborhood built in the 80s on Chickasaw in Orlando, right? That has no amenities. You pay the HOA to have a wall around the neighborhood, then you're not going to be happy there, right? So you have to make sure you choose the right location. Other reasons is, you know, the main reason actually would be the how much house they can afford, right? So if the real estate agent and the mortgage broker tell you a certain amount, and then you pick a house, and you don't really think about the fact, okay, well, can I grow into this house? Do I have to, you know, am I going to have a kid soon? Am I going to need an extra bedroom? You know, things like that. And then people find themselves with buyer's remorse because, hey, look, I had a kid a year into this house and I only have 3 bedrooms. I have 3 kids. I need an extra bedroom. I have to sell or rent. Now I have to buy something else. So then they kind of start having that, you know, that buyer's remorse. So are you emotionally prepared to buy a house? You have to be able to make those emotional decisions along with the financial decisions to be able to put yourself in the right situation. Now, a big part of that is using the right real estate professional, right? And I know a lot of you are saying, I don't need an agent, I can just go out there and do it myself. But when you go out there and do it yourself, you know, unless you've done something like this before or have been guided and counseled by a real estate professional, you may or may not miss some things, kind of like latent defects in the house, you know, things that you should be asking, like where's the property line? Do you need a survey? Do you not need a survey? Do they have a survey already? You know, is there anything wrong with the structure of the house? Things like that. So you can get yourself into trouble, right? Because you just didn't do the right research or didn't partner with the right person. So it's very important that you partner with the right realtor. I did a video about that, you know, a few weeks ago, like a month or 2 ago. It's called Your Real Estate Agent Sucks and It's Your Fault. Go back and watch that. I'll put the link in the description as well. But you have to choose the right professional. The right real estate professional knows what they're doing. They have knowledge of the area. If they don't know something, that doesn't make them a bad real estate agent. If they don't know the area necessarily because they work in St. Cloud and you're buying in Lake Mary, that doesn't make them a bad real estate professional. It just means that they don't necessarily work that area. But a good real estate professional will go out and find that information for you. They'll do the research for you and be able to give you a real view of what area it is that you're looking to buy in, right? They should be able to be resourceful enough to get you the information. So make sure you partner with the right one. So if you have questions about this video, about the program that I spoke in the beginning, or anything else, 407-308-4518, Peter at flreagent.com. You can send me an email, shoot me a text, give me a call, write a comment on this video, send me a message on Facebook. Just get a hold of me and I'll be able to answer the question. All right. So until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.